A lot more minutes. I'm gonna call to order the regular meeting for November 18th, 2025 of Aurora Community College Board of Education. We have a quorum present. And we're moving to awards and recognitions.
Yeah, we have I think two faculty members who are joining us, and I don't know if you're promoting them or if they're attendees, Rochelle or Erica and Nikki.
Erica should be joining us. Panelist here in a second.
Keep making it more obvious to me how bad I need to wear my readers, my doctor's seats. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. As you're aware, hopefully aware, we have an effort, Open Education Resources, OER is what it's often referenced. Laura in our bookstore really helps to kind of coordinate these efforts with our faculty. But they're intended to help make sure that the cost of learning materials for students aren't such a barrier that students are unsuccessful as they don't enroll, or oftentimes they might not buy resources that cost more than they can afford. And so some faculty are able or more aggressive at pursuing open education resource opportunities for students. And so Laura recommended for recognition members of our psychology and sociology faculty because those departments have saved over nearly 3,000 students, over $300,000 worth of course materials. And so that's not a small example, that is a key example, but over time, it's much more money than that we have saved. Our faculty has really focused on saving students, and this work is really meaningful because it requires faculty to look at and build their courses differently when they're looking at course materials. An easy thing to do can be, go to a publisher and you can get their book and you can kind of turn their course on and kind of put your course into cruise control. But when they're looking at open education resources, they're saying, I'm going to go dig and build my my course manually, and it's important enough to do so students don't have that cost barrier of course materials. And so, Erica, I know you are representing many faculty who contribute to this meaningful effort on behalf of our students and our faculty who take pride in supporting our students. So on behalf of the administration and the board, we want to share our thanks and appreciation with you, and hopefully you will with your colleagues. And sorry, we know you were unable to join us today, but sorry you weren't able to.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the recognition. I'll be happy to share it with the faculty and the staff who help us too. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Next is public comment. Yeah. Next on the agenda's college reports. First up is the student government.
Hello, I'm Micah, the student body president. On the events that we did in the past month are the recent gratitude event, which was done at two campuses, Redwood and Riverside. I would like to express my thanks to Makiko Berry, who helped with the event at Table Rock. It was Table Rock and not Riverside. And the event mainly promoted student wellness, and we had a number of fun activities like coloring and just lighthearted events. And then Rainbow Club, in conjunction with ASG, did an event for a Transgender Awareness Day, which was mainly at Redwood. They had a table at Redwood, but there was poster boards around all three campuses. I'd like to again express my thanks to Makiko Berry, who helped support the event as well. And the event mainly aimed to promote awareness about transgender issues and remember the many transgender people we've lost in the past. And then there was Pizza with the President, which we did at all three campuses. I'd like to express my thanks to Dr. Weber, who participated in the event with me, and continuing the tradition, which we do every turn. Dr. Weber, my vice president, Marina, and me engage with many students about important issues that they felt the need to share with us. And then we did two Halloween events, one at Redwood and another at Riverside. It included things like family-friendly games and activities, various refreshments and snacks. And ASG would like to express our thanks to the library staff at Redwood for continuing to collaborate with us. And then I attended, well, ASG attended a legislative advocacy training, which we learned how to interact with state legislators and how to do official state lobbying. And then I would like to report that there are 14 clubs currently going, 8 returning, 2 new clubs, 2 pending, and 2 being currently discussed. And then there's upcoming events, which are Friendsgiving, which we are doing today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's at Redwood, today is here. And then the Study Cafe is at December 2nd, 3rd, and 6th. Alpha Zeta Pi is doing Petapup December 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then Gaming Club is doing their Mashers event, their 11th so far, at December 13th. And then Music Club is doing their caroling event, which I unfortunately did not write down what date. If you have any questions for me, go ahead.
Michael, would you share how many members of the RCC community are being supported and what Friendsgiving, a little bit more about Friendsgiving, what it is and how many people are being served, and I can help you with that if you.
Sure. So I believe we support roughly 100 students per campus.
Yeah.
Per county. For this one, I think we had 106 orders. For tomorrow at Redwood, I think it's around the same 100.
Little under.
Little under 100. And we give out all the supplies needed for a Thanksgiving turkey, dry goods like potatoes and gravy and cranberry sauce and bread, everything.
Questions? Thank you for joining.
Please see them on the Zoom, so thank you so much for being here in person. Very nice to see.
I do have to step out because I am helping with Friendsgiving today.
Can't leave.
Michael, while they have you in person, tell them what you're studying.
Oh, I'm studying history. I want to be a history teacher.
Oh, great. Very cool.
Thank you.
And thanks the members of ASG for working tonight for Friendsgiving, Sharon.
There was a long line when I came in. It stopped. I had to stop. I couldn't get to the parking spots and I had no idea, but I scooched around and then I saw a long line.
Moving on, college reports, faculty association. Or faculty center classified association, okay. Board reports, first up is executive committee. And I volunteered to give this one, I didn't think I was running the meeting. And just briefly, the executive committee went over the meeting schedules for tonight, future work session agendas, and then also discussed the president's performance process coming up. So more information to come on that. That's a brief snapshot of the executive committee. Board outreach.
Well, board outreach had a busy day. We met with the Caveman Kiwanis and Grants Pass and gave a brief little description about what's happening out here now and things that we're looking forward to. That had a good month. Then you want to just go right into OCCA and
Man, this is, I mean,
there's no news in the OCCA. We hardly ever hear from those guys.
ever.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for attending everybody that went to attend the fall conference in Hood River. It was well done, well appreciated. Thank your staff for doing such a good job. Aside from that, you've heard.
My problem was the dad jokes. That was.
There weren't enough.
People asked us how we put up with him at home. We said, no, he only gets to travel with them. So he doesn't get it.
Pat, you keep giving those, you're pressing your luck with it.
Yeah. That was actually a pretty good one. I could have wasted on you guys.
It's us.
No, I suspect the next couple of months there'll be a whole lot of information going back and forth from OCCA. This is the time of the biennium when the legislature goes to session. The value of OCCA is really highlighted because we're 17 community colleges speak with one voice. We'd be so less effective, especially us here at Rogue, if we were by ourselves. So this is when we really need to say, yes, I'm thankful we have everybody there and all of our brethren that serve the same mission. So that's all I got for the OCCA.
Next up, Foundation Liaison Report.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Well, what do you have for us, Cass? I guess so you could.
What about you coming up? Yeah.
Let's keep them, let's not tell them yet until I give my ED report.
Okay, to be determined later.
Okay. Next up is the college updates, and start with the President's Report.
Yeah, so you got as part of your packet information from our community report and government report from United Strategies, as well as our monthly updates from OCCA. In addition, there are three things I kind of want to help cover tonight for your knowledge. I want to talk a little bit about the bachelor's in applied science and education, give you an update on efforts around work-based learning, and then speak in a little bit of detail to the budget process and current situation. So with the bachelor's degree, we talked about this a couple months over now. What it appears is that it's pretty tight with the commission as far as whether it's the right decision for them to make to pass this. And for those of us, obviously, in the college, in the consortium side, there are 5 schools in the consortium. It's Rogue, Temecula, Lynn Benton, Treasure Valley, and Columbia Gorge. It's a little maddening because when we look at the for educators in our state, the effort that our teams have put together to demonstrate that need and the strategy and their ability to put together a high quality program, it feels like an obvious answer. So what has been developed based on need has become politicized. And so it's the politics of the issue right now we're stressing it. And we had a meeting last Friday with the work group. We're like, well, what more can we do? And it was difficult. It's like, you guys have done more than enough as far as because it's now moved to the political landscape of passing something like this. And as I shared in our workshop, I expressed my sentiments to our executive director of HEC in a really a constructive conversation, but that our job is to respond to local need. And I had a conversation with a local official who had asked me in that discussion, where would we draw the line with community colleges and bachelor's degrees? To which my reply was, our job is to respond to local need in our region. So if there's not need, or if the universities are meeting that need, then there wouldn't be need for us to pursue a program. But where there's need and we can help meet it, that is our responsibility to build discussions around how we might do so. And an example I use, as far as us not trying to just broaden our scope for the sake of it, is when the opportunity for BSNs came around, we went and talked to, and I say we loosely, Dave and his team went and talked to our providers and said, hey, what do you think about a BSN? And their response was, we need more RNs. That's a greater importance than more BSNs. So we pivoted and we added a cohort of RNs. We didn't pursue the BSN at that time. However, for the bachelor's degrees, our partners in K-12 have been abundantly clear that they would like to see another local option. That there's strong sentiments on our part that this is not designed to compete with our local partner SOU. We firmly believe they can have a thriving education department, and we can help build this consortium strategy to build more qualified and strong educators in Southern Oregon. So there's continued work along those lines. Juliet has done phenomenal work helping to coordinate and lead those efforts and help find people to give key testimony. So they hear, and what HEC has said, compelling case on behalf of the college is the support from industry. And so we're continue to double down on that and hope that what we feel is the right thing for students and our K-12 partners is the sentiment that wins today. On work-based learning, I think I've touched on this just a little bit, but we're really taking through the Southern Oregon Education Leadership Consortium, which is a group I always say I coordinate, I definitely don't lead. But it's myself, Rick Bailey, Dr. Bailey from SOU, the ESD, and then superintendents from both Grants Pass and Medford serve as regional leaders in education, saying how do we represent kind of the issues in that, and if we adopted a mantra to say we want to build the strongest workforce in Oregon. So if that were the case, what would that look like? We need to value education and workforce training. So that continues to grow to the point where we're like, well, what we found in our region is that work-based learning is really key to jobs. And so we wanted to take this approach to work-based learning that's very decentralized and figure out how might we come up with a more centralized approach. So when we work with industry about job shadowing and apprenticeships and internships, that there's more universal language. If I'm an industry and I'm working with, one college and 3 school districts, I'm not signing multiple different agreements with multiple different terms, and my HR department's like, this is a lot of work to engage with getting, prospective employees introduced to the industry. So we're picking up a lot of momentum around that conversation. I'm optimistic. I will be meeting with the larger superintendents group, all the superintendents in the region next month on it. I've also got meetings with ESD and Road Workforce Partnerships on the horizon to kind of carry this conversation forward. But I think it's a good model that there are similar components of elsewhere in the state and elsewhere in the country we can borrow from that will take what's decentralized today and help us get students more exposed to careers that they don't even know exist, or introduced to industries. One of the things we face when we look at students entering industries is high attrition rates sometimes because they train for jobs they don't know what it really entails. And so I saw a statistic. If you ever go to our nursing ceremony, sometimes Margaret, our pinning ceremony, Margaret says, we don't have a shortage of nurses in Oregon. We have a shortage of nurses working as nurses because so many people have left the profession. And that's an attrition issue. So how do we get those people who train for specific jobs to stay in those jobs? And part of it is they know what they're getting into. They're getting the support when they get there. And so a lot of enthusiasm around this work and more to come. So I'll keep you updated on that through the academic year as it goes. The last thing I want to spend some time on, and I'm certain there'll be no questions and it'll be clear as mud, is the budget. And so I'll start with how are we in the budget position we're in Oregon. And I think it's been known that Oregon has a heavy dependency on federal dollars for a lot of the programs that we prop up. And it was made clear early on in the current federal administration that the reliance on those federal dollars wasn't going to be available. So we knew, for example, Oregon Healthcare Plan was going to be short $1 billion from the government to maintain current service level. And so where would those dollars come from to just keep serving the people we serve the way we do? Additionally, and something that's coming to the surface with more attention now is Oregon's tax statute mirrors federal tax statute. And you can kind of remember back during the campaign days, there was a lot of conversation around no tax on tips. And so the federal government just passed recently, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and exemptions for individual and small businesses that because it was passed at the federal level, it's now adopted within the state of Oregon. And that's a loss of significant revenue for a state that is solely dependent on income tax. And so if we had a more diverse revenue structure, it would sting, but probably not as bad as because we're solely income tax. So that's where a lot of times when you say there's hundreds of millions of dollars in shortfall, where's that coming from? It's the mirroring the federal tax system. So it's not even decisions that our current legislators have made. Interestingly, I think long session, the House passed to separate itself from the federal definition, and the Senate didn't take the vote, so it went nowhere. So in addition to the federal dollars that aren't coming, Oregon's choice to tie to the federal income that is more restrictive or just less income producing now is a big contributor to how they went from a projected $435 million surplus to now down $327 million in one biennium. Because people are like, how do you miss projections that much? It's the main thing is that change in that loss, what changed those revenues. So that's a little bit how we kind of got to where we are. And given those projections, which I'll point out, the revenue projections come out quarterly. Tomorrow will be the next. We won't get another one for 3 months. So kind of going into recession. But after the last revenue projection, when that $300+ million shortfall came about, the governor asked all agencies to look at what a 5% decrease to the current biennium would look like. So that is because it's a biennium. If you take 5% and 5%, but you don't enact it until short session of the first year, we get 8 payments over a biennium. Minimally, three of the payments will have come and gone before short session. And if they make a decision, basically the loss in expected revenues would be either 4 or 5 bienniums. So we could see what would be 5% feel like a 10% in 1 year. And so that's not insignificant, because they'll say it's 5% for the biennium, but we would see it in 1 year's worth of income. And so at the state level, there were a lot of things that were pointed out, things, and they're all of significance. Some of it is the reduction to the Community College Support Fund, CCSF. A couple of the items that are programmatic are if a full 5% cut were to come, HEC would prepare to not fund next year's Promise students. I have a sneaky suspicion if they went a year without funding Promise, we would have a hard time ever seeing Promise again. I don't know that they would introduce it back into the budget. So that truly could be the sunset to Promise, which is dedicated dollars for students attending community college. Another one is the Career Pathways money, which is really tied to students that have really demonstrated support for a lot of our pathways work. It could cut at the full 5% up to $3 million. So those are examples of impacts of programs. And I'll give another one that isn't direct to us, but it's indirect. So one of the things they're talking about, if they were to make that cut for K-12, is less funding for the student support. So that was Senate Bill 98 several years ago for the student support funding. And that's what a lot of the school districts use to fund early college. And so a lot of our dual credit momentum has been built on them having those dollars. So we could see a decrease in enrollment in those programs if they were to lose that funding. So there's kind of that ripple, and that's coming at Rogue Community College. So the 5% to CCSF, I think when they move all the dollars, I think it comes in about a 4.6 after the programmatic cuts. So it's $26.5 million this fiscal year, and about that and a little more probably next when it would settle. So that factors to about $2.5 million to RCC. So while we may say it's about 1.25 year one and 1.25 year two, that $2.5 million reduction would most likely be felt in 1 year. To point that out, one of the things I will remind us of is based on the last couple of years' performance at the college, where we've really outperformed expectations. We adopted a pretty aggressive budget this year. We adopted a budget that, if it were to play out as adopted, we would have a pretty deep ending fund balance spend. Our commitment to you at that time was we're going to be very mindfully watching that, and it's not in the college's best interest to ending fund spend at that level. So either we need to underspend approved expenses, or we need to outperform revenues. Well, the good news is we are outperforming tuition revenues. I think we projected for a 4 to 5% increase in tuition, and we're up over 9% in tuition revenue. So that's good news. But this cut would definitely impact that. So we went and said, we can't just wait for something. Something's going to happen to us. We don't know how severe it is, but we can't just wait for this something to happen to us. If we were to experience a significant ending fund balance deficit this year, it's going to take away all of our appetite for an aggressive budget next year. And so, mindful of that, we worked as an administrative group and said, what could and would that look like? What could we do now? So Lisa and I sat down and worked on a target number to say, hey, let's see if we can get here. This would get us a good start from this year's budget, trying to protect, for now, especially for this year, personnel. And I am extremely happy to report that, proud to report, not happy. I am proud to report that the team was able to identify the ability to cut $1.2 million from this year's budget. And I need to give you a couple numbers of what that reflects. The first that cannot go unrecognized is recognizing these challenges. One of the things we had in the budget this year was $400,000 for classroom technology. It was a one-time classroom technology to help student learning. Our RCC Foundation stepped up and they're going to cover that $400,000 cost for classroom technology. So we were able to reduce that anticipated expense from the general fund. Our program departments cut over $300,000 from their operating budget. Looking at saying this is something we could, you know, it's a program, it's an opportunity we could pass on this year to reduce this. Our career and workforce training department is hitting it out of the park under Lisa Parks as well. So there we go, Lisa, out of the park under Lisa Parks. And so we're able to transfer from their fund $100,000 to offset some of the support that they get in a year. We're moving a little over $150,000 from innovation funds that we won't spend this year. There's $150,000 in deferred project. So a couple of things. What will happen is Lisa and Mike are looking at ways that we can make these adjustments that fit statutorily in the budget process. So there'll be something more formal coming to the board next month. But what I wanted to do was to highlight this work and the responsiveness to this work, and most importantly, I want to acknowledge the efforts of our team. I mean, their ability to go identify this. I told the vice presidents, there are probably a lot of presidents across the state doing similar types of exercises, but maybe at their place, there's a vice president barking in this year about what they need. And over here, this one's saying, well, we need to protect my that. We don't have that. We have an amazing team that understands what's important to accomplish our mission. Literally, Lisa and I came up with the target number. They sat down together and they met the target number through preliminary work they had done with their teams. So I got to tell our management team yesterday, telling them in front of you today, the sincere thank you that the work that you and your teams did was not easy, but it's definitely helping position us so we can handle the rough waters ahead, and I'm confident we'll do so in much better situation than other schools because of what has been done in years past and that work that was done this year. And I will stop there and field any questions if there are any.
I would just try to keep track of all of that. And as you went through all of the, I hesitate calling it savings, but I guess that's what it is. How much of that really affects directly our students? And it seems like you did a great job of staying away from that. You know, it may hurt us bringing new students in. You know, some of the things that, you know, I'm hearing going on or whatever are gonna, you know, impact the partnerships we have with the K-12 organizations, etc. But it sounds like you were able to say, well, we don't have to cut this program and that program, at least not right now.
Yeah, for this year, I think we were able to, for now, stay away from things that have that significant of an impact. Now, we have had a couple partners in recent conversations say, well, we'd love to be engaged in the conversation. We might help be able to find savings in our area, to which we say, well, we are still welcoming the conversation, but we don't have to be done. Well, we needed to find something we could hang our hat on reducing in short, because we all know the further you get in a year, the harder it is to get to that point when people are like, you know, I did that thing in January that I wouldn't have prioritized if I knew times were this tough. And so that's why we created urgency around the priority. And for this year, we were fortunate that I think, you know, because 300,000 of that was the operating So that's where a lot of that programming that would come from. And, the innovation funds were some of the things that often are direct impact with students, but the innovation funds are often for support that we aren't yet doing. And so that's a missed opportunity, but it's not taking away something from students that they have today.
I also don't want to forget to thank the foundation for stepping up.
Absolutely.
That's a big deal.
Is that 400,000 from the foundation taking away from scholarships, or was that a different budget bucket?
It's unrestricted dollars. So, and Paul would put on it, but the foundation, our CPA and finance committee looked at the health of our organization and our projection. And we're happy to be able to provide that support along with other support as well.
Other questions?
Yeah, maybe this is a Lisa question or maybe it's a Randy question. So the fact that the budget's been adopted doesn't then require a new board action on the budget. It would just mean, I'm just trying to think ahead, that it means that you're freezing these dollars out of the existing budget that would sit in cash balance that would move to offset costs in the next fiscal year.
So that's a great question, and that is the homework and research Lisa is doing now. So when she comes next month with some form of board approval, it will be statutorily correct.
Okay.
But the way we're seeing it is because what you approved for the year was a total revenues, total expenditures.
Correct. Yeah.
And so we could move this into expenditure columns a different way that aren't to be expended. We in any given year don't spend much of our approved expenditures.
Right.
So we're looking at probably budget transfer, so transferring it out so people don't have it. So it would still be reflected in the adopted is one way to look at it. But then Lisa Ever, the historian's like, but do we want to do it in a way when we're looking at it 7 years from now, you can remember what we did 7 years ago and how much we did it for. So I'm confident that next month when she comes with a recommendation, she'll be able to answer with those details that question.
I just want to make sure Lisa will be here 7 years from now.
I heard. We'll still be around.
Be consulting.
Perhaps. Right. Thank you. Move on to senior leadership team. Who'd like to go first?
I'll jump in. Let's see, the HVAC and roofing projects. HVAC is 75% done. Roofing is 85% complete. I just want to say that's probably two of the largest projects we've taken on that way. Greg and his team have done an amazing job. Yes, there were disruptions, but not as many as I actually was anticipating. I think things have gone really well, and it's a different way than we've done in the past. We've done smaller projects throughout the year, and this time we bundled them all together across the district. So they have done an amazing job. Within our report, you keep hearing about Emburse, and I'm sure just like everyone's like, when is that coming? When are you going to be done with that program? What really is happening is IT, the business office, and procurement all working together. We've been waiting on an upgrade in Jenzabar to allow us to actually integrate the two programs correctly to get the information from Emburse into Jenzabar. So the upgrade happened last week. I believe there's still a little bug in there, so I'm still waiting to hear. So that's what the delay is. We've been waiting for that to occur. I'm happy to announce the 26-27 budget has opened internally for our budget managers to start working on their zero-based budgeting. So they will start that. The email came out last week. With the audits, Mike and his team have done an excellent job. We have taken our ACFR report and we have sent that off to the auditors. That happened last week. I will say that is one of the first times. We have taken one draft report and sent it completed. Usually we're still making adjustments and different things. And so I think this will be a much better process going forward. Something that I do want to bring to your attention is we are going to bring the financial section of the ACFR to you in December to review. However, the single audit side, the grant compliance piece, they haven't finished all of the supplemental what do they call them, compliance supplements that they have to follow through on the audit side. Because the feds closed down for a few months, or not a few months, for a few for a long time. So they're still waiting on that. So they're unlikely to publish those and then finish their audit work before we publish. So a few years ago, we had the same thing happen and we published January or February. And so when we bring that compliance supplement will depend on when they can actually finish the testing. So we're anticipating that'll happen before March, but I'll keep you updated each month.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess you want me to go? Julia, I don't know if you have any base updates besides what's already been shared. Okay. I wanted to start, I know we had the awards part early on. And I think it was unfortunate that they skipped out that, Dean Secreta and I won the best Halloween costume at Rogue at RWC this year, so that was unfortunately skipped.
So you didn't wear it tonight, so.
Cheers, I'll stream them.
In seriousness, I invited our faculty member, Steve Swift, here tonight to share some information with you all. And it's the League for Innovation in the Community College produces this book every year, and this is from the International Student Art Awards. And we have a winner in here from Rogue Community College. To share that with you, but I'm going to let Steve talk a little bit about it, and I'll pass this through, and you can see.
Yeah, I was tasked by Juliet actually to become our representative for the League of Innovations in this this arm of it, which is the International Student Awards. 16 colleges are represented currently in the book and have been part of it. And so every year we all get together, we talk about who's going to be the host college. It was Santa Fe this last year, and it's a juror actual show. So, and we get to pick 5 students from each school who we feel best represent the art and design program and put them into the department, and they're chosen. And one of ours won the award and the cash prize this year and was put into the book. So I have about 15 more of these. So if anybody in this room would like one, please raise your hand and I'll go grab one for you and bring one back to you from my office. I'm happy to. Hit by the heat all of a sudden, then I decided to exploding.
Digital imagery.
It's a little bit of everything. So some traditional art, some digital art, some photography, anything can be entered into it.
No, but the winning one from Rogue.
Yes, that was digital. The winning one from Rogue was digital creativity.
Yeah, and there's a section with that second paperclip that has just a number of RCC.
Yeah, it has all of our RCC students towards the back there who were also given certificates of merit and made it into the book. So it's a wonderful opportunity for the students to just share their work and to get it out there and for it to be seen at multiple other colleges, and for us to have a winner, I think is probably
Pretty cool.
nice little, pat on the back, especially. So. We have one. No, you want one? Anybody else would like one to take home and look for some artwork?
They're a great coffee table.
They are. 3. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
4. I'll be back. Seriously. Thanks.
The other thing I wanted to just share with you all is on the 29th of October, we had our articulation meeting with Southern Oregon University, and it went very, very well. We had, I don't even know how many people that were there, probably close to 30 from RCC to meet with their counterparts and talk about our articulated degrees as well as other ideas. President Weber was there, of course, as well. And so we have I've received from Casey Schilliam, the provost over at SOU, the strategies that we talked about at that meeting. And we have all of the strategies from RCC. We're collating those, and we'll work together to produce what might be, what might come out of that. So some really good ideas were presented there. So I just wanted to share that with you and let you know that that's forthcoming. I also wanted to let you know that in addition to the Friendsgiving that you heard about earlier, RCC, faculty and staff have been asking about what else are we doing in this uncertain time with students who might need food. And so there's currently a food drive that has been organized by our staff and spearheaded underneath Joseph's department. He's no longer here tonight, but it's right now they've got opportunities for folks to go to Amazon and order food to go to the different campuses. That food will be supporting our students over the break, that kind of thing. So that's going on currently, and I think there's some cool awards for whichever campus gets the most, food. So we've kind of made it a little competition. And so that's really an exciting part of, one of the ways another way that we're working as a concerted effort across the college, across campuses to support our students. And then finally, I wanted to let you know that our volleyball team this past weekend won both their games. And so they are headed to the Elite Eight this next weekend on Friday up at Columbia Basin Community College in Washington. If they win on Friday, they'll play the Final Four on Saturday, and the finals are on Sunday. The championship game will be on Sunday. So just wanted to share that with you all.
ESPN?
I'm sorry?
Yes, on ESPN.
ESPN 2.
They got WWE on.
Yeah, so that's the championship for the NWAC. So that's pretty exciting.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. I had OCCA on my list as well. So I just wanted to mention the great showing both from the board and from the college. And this year we managed to get Dave in our picture. So here's to that. That was wonderful. You can see from the report that there's a lot going on, and I just want to recognize the great work from across the division, both in collaboration with the other divisions, things like the food drives and those kinds of activities that Lucia in particular is helping to lead support for from the Diversity Programming Board, as well as the great work from our marketing and communications team, management teams, and HR, who are making significant progress on important projects, while also being flexible to the various needs that are coming up with all the different priorities that are happening. Last month, I provided some information regarding the College Council, and I shared with you that the charter had gone out, the nominations were open. I'm happy to share with you today that we do have representation from all employee groups, folks who have either nominated themselves or have nominated a colleague with their permission and consent. And so we'll be sending notices out to those members of our inaugural College Council this week. So really looking forward to bringing in that group. One of their primary projects to get started is some work around shared governance structure. And so that certain is work that we'll be sharing updates with you all about as things progress. Welcome any questions about our report. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Juliet, anything to?
You asked me not to ask her.
We had a plan there.
Thank you though.
Okay. I'll say ESON tonight, so we'll move on down to foundation.
Hey, hi, everyone. So some highlights from the foundation is that currently we are managing our invested and endowed funds at $21.5 million. And we have a whopping $926,000 in our bank, which will be moving to get under that FDIC 250, but we received a very large donation. So that's exciting. And then just some highlights in the past 4.5 months between our endowments, our scholarships, our unrestricted donations and projects. The foundation has brought in about $1.4 million. So thank you to our donors and supporters for that. And we did look at the health of the foundation, and with our CPA and finance committee and our board, the board voted to provide $650,000 worth of support $400,000 towards the classrooms, but also $250,000 towards seed money for our capital transportation technology and capital campaign. So that's also very helpful. We are in the middle or have just finished three interviews with three separate consultants for our campaign readiness study. So thanks, Maria. Hopefully the board will vote on January 29th and approve the hiring of a consultant for our campaign readiness. Let's see, so far we've awarded $904,000 this year in scholarships, and we're well on our way to award $1.2 million in scholarships this year. We've also this past month have established 3 new scholarships. And I don't know, I'm sure everyone in here knows Lutz Kramer.
Yeah.
And so there's funds rolling in, a lot of funds rolling in to support his endowed scholarship. And recently, Sid and Alan DeBoer have been part of a group dissolving a small foundation and have identified RCC for a gift of $26,000 for our automotive students. So that's exciting. And I think, in working with Stephen, they'll all get an automotive widget that they need. So also we have received a $735,000 gift. We're working with the donor to identify and conceptualize a proposal to provide capital support. So more will be revealed on that. And that's my highlight.
I want to add, what you're seeing from the foundation is really cool and really necessary in that historically the foundation has had a primary focus of providing direct support to students for cost of attendance. As colleges look at our traditional three-legged stool of funding for local, state, and tuition, we realize those legs kind of keep getting solid and disproportionate. And so colleges are often looking at what are alternative funding sources, what are all funding sources. And so what we've done with our foundation is really try to say, how might we turn it into more of a newer advancement type model where we've moved grants to house under the foundation, because if we think of alternative funding sources to support the college mission, whether it's grants, whether it's philanthropy, if it's an alternative source, as long as it aligns with our mission, we'll be happy to receive it. And so we're seeing, and you're seeing in some of this, the foundation providing programmatic and support to the student learning environment in ways that we haven't always done traditionally. And we've had conversations, like we talked about a $500,000 gift that we received to support simulated learning for students. And some of the conversations that we have are around, we absolutely have students with need and we want to keep focusing on their need. But we can best serve sometimes all the students in a program if they have a better learning environment. So what does that learning environment, learning materials look like? And that conversation is resonating with some of our supporters. And so we're figuring out what works with you in the conversation we're having with you. But the foundation, and especially under the CAS's leadership and guidance, has really done a good job in helping to pivot and get that way. So I'm really optimistic at being able to work with our foundation and our community to kind of help develop that three-legged stool into more of a four-legged stool to meet the needs of our institution.
Thank you. Moving on our agenda to the board action and information section. First up is the monthly financial report for October.
There's a couple things I would like to highlight in the report. Within the general fund, we did receive our local property tax levies. And so our projection for went down about $50,000, $45,000. This is what the levies are and how the funds will come in. We budget based on what we received in the prior year, and we do a percentage increase on that. Then once we get the levies, then we make an adjustment. It is a little bit lower than what was actually in the Community College Support Fund distribution formula. And so we'll see how that affects that. it should affect it a little bit. We'll see. I don't have an update for that just yet. Then within tuition and fees, we did make about a $20,000 increase. There are a couple of fees that we needed to make an adjustment in Gen's to get added to accounts. So all that said and done, Dr. Weber mentioned that ending fund balance where we had originally budgeted, you can see there in actual or in current budget, our ending fund balance would be, our beginning fund balance would be 8.6. So we balanced our budget, but you can see where we're thinking it was around a $3.2 million shortfall. We're at about a $300,000 shortfall right now. Any cuts from the state, there's still a lot to happen. It's still, when you think about where we are in the fiscal year, summer term is very, very small. Most of our faculty are 9 pay, 9 months, not 12 months of the year. So our real expenses started, you know, September, October, November. So there's still a lot of time to go, but that's where we are right now in the general fund. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Well, anything else with them?
See if you look to the report, Lisa's getting fancy and adding really cool charts to help you see how money is growing and where it's sitting.
We have a few more items we like to put in the executive summary in the next 6 to 9 months. So give us a little bit more time, a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, our first readings, board policies that will be going up again next month and voted on. The board policy 3100, organizational structure. 3230, protection of human subjects. 5010, admissions and current enrollment. And 6550, budget management. Is there any questions or information?
I'm just curious, some of these board policies we looked at 2 or 3 years ago, what's driving the change now? I mean, there's some minor wording things. Is there something out there to say, well, okay, the powers that be that are dictating, you know, all things community colleges are saying you have to word it this way?
Sort of. And so really what you're looking at when we adopt a policy, the majority of our policy language and guidance comes from our subscription to what Abby went over really fast in the workshop, which is one of the best values OCCA offers, is we subscribe to the policy support and guidance that they put out. And so the majority of what we adopt is through their program, the program OCCA offers. And that when we adopt it that is what we know at that point in time, the best language we can have. But over time, as people appeal things get contested, administration changes, policy and compliance that we are to adhere to changes. So then we come back and so we particularly see it on the next couple items that we'll get to take action on, is we're going to ask you to take action upon a first reading because we have received clarity around these recently adopted policies that they are no longer in compliance as we last adopted them, and we want to be in compliance. So we want to ask you to approve these. So what we have in order to be compliant with our creditor, we have a regular schedule to review each series. So we viewed last year. We reviewed the 1 and 2,000 series. This year, as a series, we're reviewing the 3,000 series. So you'll see through the remainder of the year, a lot of those just cleanups come in where maybe we adopted new institutional language across the board. That there's kind of housekeeping. But most of these then come in because we are now, when they come off cycle, it's because we've got different guidance or expectation from a compliance standpoint.
Question on the budget management, 6250. I assume that the renewal and replacement fund was retired. It's just an old term. Okay.
So we retired it
I
last.
never, because I don't recall seeing that.
Yeah, we retired it during the year. Last year, we brought a board resolution to retire it. Then we just needed to update that.
Other questions? And we'll move into our action. First up is board policy 3430, prohibition of harassment. Entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have discussion. I read on the executive summary that that's part of a special federal legal update, which I had questions at because federally Title IX has changed. I just wondered why it's urgent for us for a first reading because that's my question to start with.
I'm gonna
Because-
try to give an answer and if Amy has to clean it up, she can. So we recently brought these to you when, after the election, we were told we needed to revert back to the last time Trump was president, that we needed to revert back. I don't mind, that was adopted by him then. So we moved to that. So that was just kind of dear colleague letters that say, here's how you're to adhere to this. And so we got that, said, go back to the 2020, I think it was, legislation. So we did. And then since then, they said, okay, now we're actually giving real specific guidance and compliance and expectations. And that they actually have went kind of a fine tooth comb and went through and said, these are the changes that need to be made in compliance. That's what's being brought forward to you today. So this is after their more thorough review. Initially, they let's go back to what we had before. Now they've went in and they've made the modifications they feel to be appropriate, and this is us responding to that. How bad did I miss that?
That's correct. So it was primarily OCCA's policy guidance that said revert to the former until we have a new version for you. And this is the version.
I guess specifically my question, because I know a big part of it was the gender identity thing. And I guess it's no surprise, I'm not a fan of labeling students into groups because I feel like preferential treatment gets sent, to specific groups. And so I think harassment in any sense is wrong. And so when I'm looking at the gender-based harassment, it doesn't mesh with me with what the 2020 thing is. So I guess and I couldn't find it in state statute either that we had to have this gender-based harassment specifically in there. I just don't think it adds to it. And I'm wondering, I don't know if that's a legal thing we have to do, or is the school just choosing to put that in there, would be my question.
They are specific, legally required, and the state of Oregon does have some differences, both from a discrimination and non-discrimination standpoint. I'd be happy to connect with Karen or some specifics and pass them to Randy to share with you. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
This is, this is language that is legally required. It is
Federal? By
state and federal. It adheres to
I
both.
couldn't find it in state. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Of course, if it's legally required, that's fine. But when I looked at the federal, it does say it reverts back to the 2020, which doesn't use gender so much. So maybe there was another case that I'm not aware of or something, but.
So Title IX is federal.
Yeah.
And if you're referring to other policies and procedures, then those include state requirements.
And the reason I bring this up is because I represent Josephine County, a conservative community. And so when we talk about unifying and getting people on board, no one cares what your no one cares. We love you all the same. We don't want anyone to be harassed. But these are the things, these are the words when people look at it that is a big turnoff. And to me, you can get rid of that and have the same effect with the policy, the same effect without the words and the groupings and all that, which would satisfy many of the conservative people. And so I think that's something to think about when we do these policies, because when bonds don't pass, and there's a reason I bring this up. There's a reason. I hear from people. When bonds don't pass and people say things about the college negative or have an experience related to that, that's an outcome we don't want. I mean, but of course we want to protect all our students. So I just feel like I needed to bring that up. If it's not legally necessary, we should really think about the wording we use in these. If it is legally, we have to by state or federal, of course, we have to do it. So I just bring that up for that reason.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I think because this is the guidance we received from OCCA and we are fortunate to have Abby with us here tonight, I think it's fair to maybe make a quick comment.
So I would offer, again, 17 different community colleges with lots of flavors and flavor in different parts of the state. And so we are very much aware of that. And I can represent that Karen Smith takes a very conservative, and I just say a cautious view, right? And there are federal requirements under Title IX. And so you're right about the 2020, but then they gave additional guidance and they went back and said, you have to have language in your policy that notifies students under which categories they are allowed to bring a grievance or a claim or a complaint. And so they recognize those labels federally, and we had to match that up with the state. So the state also has requirements. And so she looked at those with the lens of not preferencing anything that was, because we balance what Portland Community College might have more words, right? So these are really the minimum, bare, basic, this is what you need to comply with the law. And then you, as a locally elected board, can add additional things. You can offer other things at your college, but what the guidance that we bring to you is just compliance with federal and state law, nothing in addition. Is that helpful?
Do you know why it's not put in, and you might not have it, but why not put it in a paragraph where it says race, sex, blah, blah. I mean, it's got all these different categories, but there's a whole other paragraph specifically for that. Do you know why that is happening?
I don't have your policy in front of me, but again, I would 3430.
I'm just saying there's a yeah, so there's a place where it says, I don't, oh, you can't harass based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, genetic information. That's interesting. Harassment is lawful. Okay, so why would it not be put there as opposed to then there's a whole paragraph about gender-based harassment? I'm just wondering, it kind of just makes it stick out more, I guess, in my view. But you might not be able to answer.
I can't answer that one, but I would just offer that we was looking at it. We're very sensitive at our board level because we have 17 different. Yeah. So what she looked at is what is the bare minimum compliance for federal and state law, and that was where we initially went to say we issued immediate guidance to say this is what the administration is saying in the Dear Colleague. Do this, and this is how you're going to be protected because you have that responsibility to protect the district resources. But again, I would just, I can try to get her on the phone next time.
Yeah, well, usually it seems like we've had a lot of these policies special, like first reading only. Usually, or we would have a first reading and then time to really look into it and figure out what's going on, right, and have seconds. So,
Gary, you have a.
Yeah, I just wanted one clarifying. In this first reading, it's just a first reading.
Well, no, so these F and G, because we've received
the notice that
new
you're calling
notice from,
Okay.
yeah.
So our policy's out of compliance.
Gotcha.
Till,
Okay. Then the other question, which might be easier, which confuses me, it's on the 3430, and it takes out the word entity, and it feels to me as I read it that the language was lifted from the OCCA boilerplate language, and one of the 17 colleges would insert their name under entity. And it shows that we or they chose that this recommended language is not recommended for this college. I'm just wondering why the sentence is there, what entity is intended to mean? I don't understand that.
This policy applies to all members language.
No, the word entity, so in the first paragraph in 3430, in the first paragraph, in the last line, this policy applies to all members of the entity, community, including Board of Education members.
That line was stricken from the template. So
That's what
that
I'm
was a
saying.
change we received from OCCA.
You chose to not use that recommendation.
I believe that that line was pulled from it.
We didn't choose it. They provided the guidance, but they omitted it when they give it to us for. So that wasn't our strike through. That was Karen's strike.
I believe, I will make sure.
And
I believe it
because we
was.
didn't have this in the existing policy to begin with, right? We didn't. I'm just checking now, did we have this language in the original policy that we had earlier adopted? This language that's stricken?
I can confirm, we have had several iterations at this point of this policy, and so I want to make sure when I answer you that it's correct.
And the reason for me asking is just to help me know what the purpose of striking the language means. What's the import of that? Why is that? Why should I pay attention as a board member when I adopt it that I should ignore that? That's the piece that I'm missing. So if you, to help me build my understanding of that, it helps me make a better decision. That makes sense?
It does, and Karen is a wonderful partner to us and is always open for questions. And as far as I know, what's not provided is for each edit, some sort of rationale that goes along with it. So sometimes we have to ask for specific information, and so I'd be happy to look at our most recent approved version of this for that line and connect with Karen for more information.
So if we're going to vote on it tonight, I'm just stating that it's my understanding that this boilerplate language was not selected by our legal advisor at OCCA and shows that it shouldn't be in the 17 community colleges board policy. That's how I'm going to vote based on my understanding of why she's striking the language. You helped, would that be, yes, I think that's a good, just so I can.
This is why we typically have first
Sure.
reading.
Yes.
To be able to ask these questions
guess-
during first reading.
The consequence of not delaying until next month.
If we were to have a complaint and the complaint were to fall under our current policy, it would be inconsistent with, somebody could go to the federal government and say, the policy they're following based on my complaint is not, does not match the legal requirement.
What part of this specifically is changed?
It's pretty significant. What if, yeah, which Karen, I think, is proposing that we don't consider is fairly significant. But I don't know, I mean, unless we look quickly at the existing. Rochelle.
If you want me to share, I can, but we do have that line, so it's just kind of an editing error. It should say college.
Okay,
Last
that's
line.
my question.
I think sometimes it's easier when we're getting these from Karen to just take the updates in, but we should have updated that. That is our current.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. So if that's what our current language, and I would insert our college for entity, now I know that is existing, and Karen is recommending that we eliminate that based on the Dear Colleague letter and guidance from the Office of Civil Rights or whatever office chose that. I'm okay now. I can feel that this is, I understand what I'm voting on.
There's a motion and second on the floor. Any other discussion?
One more question. So when Karen recommends something, you all look at it and can take things off or add things
So.
Did that happen? with this?
When these come out and Rochelle helps to coordinate our policy along with April and Steve. But when it comes from OCCA, it comes basically into three categories: legally required, recommended, or basically institutional preference. So obviously, when it's legally required, we aren't looking to get overly creative in authoring it. It's when it's institutional, so based on that level of clarity from her, that when she'll say, this is the policy in direct guidance with very clear legal expectation versus how we might, if we had a policy with something that isn't legally required, there's lots of them, then it's our language and our culture.
Does it mean when she says, I'm sorry to take up time, when she says it's legally required, does that mean every little thing in there is necessary to?
So what does that look
legal?
like when we receive it? How's the best way to describe that, Rochelle?
So like for these, for instance, we refer to our Title IX coordinators here. So they take Karen's updates and they look at all of them, and that's what happens in the background of this. We don't just take it and be like, oh, okay, that's it. Let's bring it forward. It goes through different levels of looking at through all that she suggests.
So our own Title IX people approve it as well.
Each school has to have a Title IX officer, deputy officer, so they look at it as part of the approval process for us.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. This is board policy 3433, provision of sexual harassment under Title IX. Also, it's first reading that we take action on. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is new business. We have Transportation Technology Center project update.
And Greg and Lisa are gonna take this one away.
This is really just an introduction to a monthly status update report that we will be providing. New transportation technology projects are listed. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Everything is in the report, so be happy to go through it line by line, but I figured, happy to answer any questions. Really, this is just a dashboard summary of the project itself, upcoming milestones, previous completed milestones, really just to kind of let you all know where we're at. And you can see that there's some update or some upcoming important deadlines, like the December board meeting. We'll be bringing forward some early work package contracts in order to order the re-engineered metal buildings for the Table Rock campus and also the electrical switchgear. And the reason why we're doing that is because they're on very long lead delivery times. So 44 weeks is the estimated delivery schedule for the switchgear, the electrical primary switchgear for the building. So we really just need to get it ordered as quick as we can. So that's on the list for upcoming.
And because this is a significant project coming at a significant expense, and it's not coming through last significant construction dollars came through the bond, so you got a lot of that through bond oversight, and it's not coming through those important funds. This has brought us new business this month, and then this report will be updated and be in old business in future months. So you've got information as it progresses on this project.
Very exciting.
Questions? Thank you. This is all business, and we have nothing listed there. So next, roundtable. Third. We're over with Pat. Yep.
Well, the only thing I want to share is that it was nice going with Navarro, and I think that's the first time I ever saw you wear a tie. Saturday, I guess Thursday night. Well attended, well performed, real well, and I look forward to challenges we have facing us. Like my dad says, there's no such thing as problems, just opportunities to excel. That's what I'm looking at.
Nothing to add.
The OCCA conference was spectacular, learned a lot of good things. The AI thing was really interesting, really interesting. And then I just, United Strategies, we had a thing in our packet. I just wanted to update the homelessness grant program for Grants Pass. It's outdated. The council did favor Pathways to Stability, but they didn't have property, so now they're favoring Elk Island, and that will be a vote tomorrow. So if you want some lively entertainment, tune in tomorrow's city council meeting. But it's good going forward. So I just wanted to make that correct. You have to make your own, but you should.
Two things, notes of appreciation to the college for doing the Friendsgiving. It's lovely to come and see the community for each other, so thank you. Also appreciation Cass, for her leadership, at the foundation. You go, girl.
My comment would be thank you, Rochelle, for putting up with somebody who wasn't paying attention to the executive committee meeting. Great lifeline.
And I'm gonna take some liberty here and do something I'm not supposed to do at all, but, on April 16th, 1992, this college made a really, really smart choice. On April 16th, 1992, we hired an adjunct faculty in computer science by the name of Juliet Long. And in 1999, we hired Juliet as full-time faculty. And in 19 years later, we hired her as dean. It only took us a year to figure out she'd make a really good VP. So in 2019, she moved into the role of VP. We were told we were not allowed to have an event to recognize her, and so we're honoring that. But since we're not having this event for her, I didn't want us to not say thank you for her service. We are very fortunate that while she is retiring, she's going to do some contract work with us, and Dave's got lots of stuff he's going to do to keep her busy. So before we go into executive session, what I'm going to offer and ask is very simply, because if you know, we all know Juliet well, she does not like to be recognized. But if you want to share one of her favorites with us, we have crumble cookie to share and just say a simple thank you to Juliet for her ongoing service to the college, and we are very fortunate that I think back to the story. She's like, well, I grew up playing in the pit and the Rogue Bowl, and you may or may not know Juliet's mom was faculty at the college, and so long history with us, and we are very fortunate that she is staying part of our community, but moving away from administrative responsibilities at the will not be with us next month. So that is my last comment before we.
With that, Board of Education will now adjourn the regular meeting at 6:19 PM and move into the executive session pursuant to ORS 192-660-2D labor negotiations. The board will not reconvene after the executive session, and any final actions will take place at the regular meeting. Board.